Welcome to this tutorial about ancillary services. It was put together as a learning exercise to build experience with electricity wholesale markets. This is the third in a series about Cal ISO basics. In videos 1 and 2, concepts such as unit commitment aka pre-dispatch, and real-time dispatch were introduced. References for this video can be located below the video window in the Show More section. The term ancillary services is used to refer to a variety of operations, beyond generation and transmission, that are required to maintain grid stability and security. In simplest terms, a generator, battery, or other resource, holds back all, or a portion of, its capacity. This capacity, which therefore cannot otherwise be sold or used, is valued in a market administered by the independent system operator. If you dislike listening to the computer's text-to-speech, you may mute the sound, and enable closed captions. Electricity consumption, aka load, is time-varying. Consumers turn on and off their electric appliances independently. From a system's point of view, some aspects of consumption are random. Other aspects of consumption trend with changes in time of day, with warmer or cooler temperatures, with seasons of the year. The real world of power systems can be unpredictable. Because stuff happens, the ISO uses ancillary services to keep the system balanced and stable. The ISO cannot foresee and avoid every type of event that could impact the grid. Given such uncertainty, ancillary services are an essential reliability tool. Electricity cannot be easily stored like other commodities. It is consumed at about the same moment it is generated. And since the generation plants typically aren't near the end customer, the electric grid is complex, relying on sophisticated computer systems and communications. Experienced expert human operators oversee the technology and sometimes need to make manual adjustments. To maintain stability and avoid damaging equipment, generation must approximately equal load and voltage must be maintained within prescribed bands. Furthermore, the frequency of voltage needs to be maintained near 60 Hz. This is true at thousands of volts down to tens of volts. Power flows into and out of the ISO's balancing area must be kept within limits. And the ISO must adhere to NERC standards. NERC published 3 brief instructional videos about reliability services. If you haven't seen them yet, they help build some intuition about reliability of the bulk electric system. If you wish, you can pause the tutorial here and visit the link below in the Show More section. This slide provides some general definitions. It might be helpful to hit pause and read for a moment. Hurst and Kirby described ancillary services as those functions performed by electrical generating, transmission, system control, and distribution system equipment and people, to support the basic services of generating capacity, energy supply, and power delivery. So it's not the main product, energy. These are the side but essential products needed to support energy on the system. There are 4 primary ancillary services in Cal ISO terminology: regulation up or reg up, regulation down or reg down, spinning reserve or spin, and non-spinning reserve or non-spin. Load following and voltage control, including reactive services, can also be considered ancillary services. Note that there isn't a one-to-one relationship between ancillary services and any single change in the power system. An ancillary service is deployed for an area, not for individual load or resources variability. On this slide, we further detail why ancillary services are required. To paraphrase Professor Daniel Kirschen's 2011 presentation, load isn't totally predictable, Generators often don't faithfully follow dispatch. Generators aren't as flexible as needed to respond to market signals. Consequently, demand cannot be fully met through the marketplace. And what's produced by generators never perfectly matches their award that clears the associated market. Control error occurs. Different generation technologies vary in ability to follow instruction. Additionally, every generation plant has its own physical limitations. It has a maximum and minimum ramp rate in megawatt per minute. Supply and demand must balance across the entire Western interconnection. Excesses or deficits in one balancing area produce changes in tie-line flows with neighboring balancing areas. Load following is a service provided by generators that change their supply output in response to changes in demand. In this context, the demand we are talking about is net load. Net load is the combination of electric demand from consumers and non-dispatchable generation. Non-dispatchable generation is mostly supplied rooftop solar. During a given time period, load can be thought of as the sum of three components. 1. A constant minimum level called the base. 2. A trend. Trend is a slope or change in demand over a period of time. Think of the early evening hours. As customers return home from work, they turn on appliances and heat or cool their dwellings, and so demand increases. It trends up. A reverse trend would be in the morning when consumers leave their homes for work. 3. Random fluctuations. There are numerous reasons for small random changes to net load. Those might include changes to weather and a building's HVAC responding, or changing cloud cover over rooftop solar. Load following is a service that primarily addresses the second component, trending. Generators get compensated for adjusting their output in response to a trend in net load. In CAL-ISO, a class of market participants called metered subsystems can provide a load-following ancillary service. That's beyond the scope of this tutorial, but you can read about it in the tariff. CAL-ISO also has a market product called the flexible ramping product. That is considered separate from ancillary services and is not covered in this tutorial. Regulation addresses the third load component, the random component, or fluctuations. Paraphrasing Professor Kirschen, regulation is a necessary service because of the random component of load. A portion of the load or demand will always be random no matter how good forecasts are. On the generation or supply side, even generators following their production schedules don't exactly produce the megawatts scheduled. Generators are physical real-world objects, non-ideal. No matter how well maintained or expertly operated generators are, actual production will not precisely match scheduled production. The regulation ancillary service is provided by the more flexible resources. These resources can more faithfully respond to control signals through AGC. They are equipped with a governor or with similar capability provided through power electronics. Note that improved inverter technology at newer renewable energy plants have the capability to provide the regulation service. This is also true of electric storage devices. Technologies and market rules are evolving. It is the stated goal of CAL-ISO, other grid operators, and the FERC to enable participation of these newer resources in organized wholesale electricity markets. To reiterate, regulation's mission is to compensate for fluctuations and supply and demand randomness, thus maintaining frequency near 60 Hz and a balancing authority's interties at desired values. Now that we've discussed ancillary services in the most general sense, let's sharpen the focus to the CAL-ISO Balancing Authority. Here are some statements taken from caliso.com. Ancillary services are procured in order to protect the grid in the event of a disturbance on the grid. They are used to maintain grid reliability in accordance with Reliability Coordinator standards and good utility practice. They are categorized into either regulation or operating reserves. In the CAL-ISO markets, the primary ancillary service products are regulation, reg up or reg down, and operating reserves, spin, and non-spin. CAL-ISO procures these primary products in the day-ahead or integrated forward market and in the real-time market. Regulation energy is used to control system frequency, which must be maintained very narrowly around 60 Hz, and varies as generators change their energy output. Resources providing regulation are certified by the ISO and must respond to automatic control signals to increase or decrease their operating levels depending upon the need. Spinning reserve is standby capacity from generation units already connected or synchronized to the grid and that can deliver their energy in 10 minutes when dispatched. Non-spinning reserve is capacity that can be synchronized to the grid and ramped to a specified load within 10 minutes. Other ancillary services such as voltage support and black start are contracted for out of market as needed. In the day-ahead and real-time time frames, the CAL-ISO operates a series of procedures and markets that together comprise the CAL-ISO markets processes. As appropriate, the CAL-ISO markets processes utilize transmission and security constrained unit commitment and dispatch algorithms, in conjunction with a base market model adjusted as described in tariff sections 27.5.1 and 27.5.6, to optimally commit, schedule and dispatch resources, and determine marginal prices for energy, ancillary services and RUC capacity. If you go to caliso.com, navigate the Participate tab, click on Learning Center, and then on the Markets link, you can view a few free computer-based training videos to learn the basics of the day-ahead and real-time markets. Greater detail is available in the BPMs and tariff. Again, the topic of this tutorial is ancillary services. The CAL-ISO procures reg up, reg down, spin, and non-spin in the day-ahead and real-time markets. The Argonne National Laboratory in 2016 published a survey of ancillary service markets in the United States. The survey provides a nice summary of CAL-ISO processes involving ancillary services. Quote, in the CAL-ISO market, all ancillary service bids may be accompanied by an energy bid in the day-ahead market, DAM, and must be accompanied by an energy bid in the real-time market, RTM. CAL-ISO determines its ancillary service needs on the basis of an internal demand forecast, and obtains these ancillary services, either through self-scheduling resources in its territory, or through participation by resources in the CAL-ISO ancillary services market. Ancillary service bids are evaluated simultaneously with energy bids in the integrated forward market, to clear bid-in supply and demand. The integrated forward market co-optimizes energy and ancillary services. The capacity of a resource with energy and ancillary service bids is optimally used to provide energy, and/or it is reserved for ancillary service provision in the form of ancillary service awards. Contingency reserves, spinning reserves and non-spinning reserves, are procured in the DAM to meet 100% of the contingency reserve ancillary service requirement, associated with the CAL-ISO forecast of CAL-ISO demand, to satisfy current NERC standards. If additional contingency reserves are necessary after the DAM, then they are purchased through the RTM. Load-serving entities in CAL-ISO are required to procure ancillary services, either through self-provision or through purchase on the CAL-ISO market. They can also bid excess ancillary services into the market. Scheduling coordinators simultaneously submit bids to supply any or all of the above products to the CAL-ISO in conjunction with their preferred day-ahead and hour-ahead schedules. CAL-ISO selects resources to provide ancillary service capacity based only on their capacity bid prices and deliverability. End quote. Now a few words about the real-time markets, RTM, real-time unit commitment, RTUC, and real-time dispatch, RTD, were detailed in tutorials 1 and 2. RTUC takes as inputs the load forecasts, supply bids, imports and exports, the full network model, network constraints, and exceptional dispatch instructions. RTUC performs computations and iteratively evaluates feasible solutions and optimizes. It coordinates the startup, shutdown, and transitioning of generating resources to balance supply and demand within its BA. RTUC is synonymous with the 15-minute market. Ancillary services can be procured on this horizon. For real-time dispatch, RTD, the time horizon is every 5 minutes. Generation units aren't committed on this horizon. There exists a special mode of RTD, real-time contingency dispatch, RTCD, that does involve ancillary services. Contingency-only reserves can be activated, and additional ancillary services can be procured. Note that RTD only enters RTCD after a grid event has occurred. More details are available in the real-time dispatch tutorial. A resource offering ancillary services in CAL-ISO is defined by key attributes. Those attributes include its ramp rate in megawatt per minute, its power factor, leading or lagging, its maximum output in megawatt, further defined as real or reactive, its minimum output in megawatt, real or reactive, its capability to respond immediately to CAL-ISO's EMS control, and its minimum duration providing the ancillary service. The attributes for each resource are defined in the CAL-ISO's master file. Additionally, resources providing ancillary services must be certified to do so. Providers must satisfy the communications, control, and metering equipment requirements, defined in the tariff. Participating resources are subject to testing. We know that reg up, reg down, spin, and non-spin are procured and awarded in the integrated forward market and the real-time market. Voltage support and black start are procured under contract and out of market. Market participants, mainly scheduling coordinators, are allocated the costs of providing the ancillary services based on their share of load and imports. So the greater consumers of energy are responsible for a greater share of ancillary services costs. We are talking mostly about load-serving entities, LSEs. LSEs may choose to self-provide all, or a portion of, their ancillary service requirement, subject to certification. Ancillary service marginal prices, ASMPs, are determined by calculating the shadow prices for each ancillary service type, namely reg up, reg down, spin, and non-spin, and the applicable ancillary services regions. We'll cover regions shortly. The ancillary services shadow prices are produced as a result of the co-optimization of energy and ancillary services through the integrated forward market and the real-time market, subject to resource, network, and requirement constraints. Ancillary service marginal prices, ASMPs, are produced as a result of the co-optimization of energy and ancillary service for each ancillary region. They represent the marginal cost of providing an additional unit of that service. In supply shortage conditions, when co-optimization fails to clear the market and there is not a well-defined ASMP, CAL-ISO will use scarcity reserve demand curves to set the administrative values for ASMPs. Settlement of ancillary services during a given market interval is set at the product quantity in megawatt multiplied by the ASMP in price per megawatt per time period. As just mentioned, ancillary service marginal prices, ASMPs, are determined by calculating the shadow prices for each ancillary service type in the ancillary services regions and subregions. The regions and subregions, defined in the tariff, are located relative to two critical CAL-ISO transmission corridors, Path 15 and Path 26, pictured figure left. While a geographically detailed map of all 10 ancillary services regions/subregions isn't available to this author, the figure right from caliso.com and the table on the next slide give you a general idea of their relative location. For each region, the ISO determines how much of rake up, rake down, spin, and non-spin is needed to ensure the CAL-ISO BA is able to meet NERC and Reliability Coordinator requirements. The tariff and BPMs go into detail on minimum ancillary service constraints for each region. The BPM for market operations is a helpful reference. CAL-ISO maintains 2 ancillary service regions and 8 ancillary service subregions. The 2 ancillary service regions are the CAL-ISO System Region and the CAL-ISO Expanded System Region. The CAL-ISO Expanded System Region is defined as the entire CAL-ISO Balancing Authority area plus all system resources at scheduling points outside of the CAL-ISO Balancing Authority area. The CAL-ISO System Region is defined as the subset of certified resources defined in the CAL-ISO Expanded System Region that are located internal to the CAL-ISO Balancing Authority area. There are 8 subregions, each of which may have its own minimum ancillary service requirements based on system reliability conditions. A number of factors influence how much of each ancillary service product is procured in each region. Key factors are shown in this table. They relate to transmission, generation, and load. Location, network topology, and forecasts play major roles. The final chapter of this presentation will take us to the CAL-ISO's Oasis, or Open Access Same-Time Information System, to show how to obtain some basic ancillary service award information. At Oasis, navigate to Results. Take notice of the 3 market processes where ancillary services awards are available: DAM, RTM, and HASP. Recall that HASP is one of the real-time pre-dispatch processes. Notice the 2 regions and 8 subregions. Notice the product types. Notice how you can choose the dates to search for results. An initial search was done for the DAM and all regions/subregions, and the results are for hour ending 1 through hour ending 24. A final search was done for the RTM. Oasis appears to be limited to inter-hour granularity and regional granularity. This author doesn't have access to a scheduling coordinator's CMRI interface, where it is presumed one could obtain detailed ancillary service award details for each certified resource. Thanks for watching this tutorial about ancillary services in the CAL-ISO Balancing Authority. This was produced as a learning exercise. If you note any errors, please reach out to the author so he may learn and correct.